Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunattu Sah Viryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Namaskar. Good evening to everyone. We are starting this function in the anticipation that the chief guest would shortly join us. I don't have any information where she is at the moment, but presumably somewhere on the way, probably stuck in traffic. So we'll start the function because otherwise the program will go haywire. So I think it's a great occasion for us, for the VIF, to organize this function to release Ambassador Surendra Kumar's latest book, and it's very provocatively titled "Who Should Say Sorry for 2 Millennia of Injustices." And I think it hides a number of issues, a number of uncomfortable questions. And as he says in the preface in his book, that his job is to, now we are 72 years old, and you can't really push the issues under the carpet, and we must face these issues. The VIF, of course, most of you are familiar, but just to mention that we are an independent, non-partisan think tank established in 2009, so relatively young. And over the years, we have organized a large number of functions in a very similar vein, that is of raising issues and discussing and having a samvad, a dialogue of people. So I think in that tradition, discussing his book is very much a part of our activity. His book provides a wonderful glimpse into his thinking on some burning issues of our times, uh, which are, some of them are quite troubling issues as well. And the book, I'm sure, will be a welcome addition to the growing literature on such issues. Of course, the chief guest is not here, but I would start with a warm welcome to her in absentia. And she was, I think, busy in some other function as well. So, but you know her very well, Padma Vibhushan, and now Rajya Sabha member, a social activist, prominent exponent of Indian culture, choreographer, teacher, many things to her credit. I also welcome my friend Professor Nalapat, a distinguished academic, columnist, and he is now associated with many things. He is associated with the Manipal, the geopolitical center there in the Manipal University, and many of us have visited his center, organized a number of seminars. Of course, the Sunday Guardian and his ITV and network. He's the editorial director. Thank you for being with us. I also welcome Shri Narendra Kumar, the publisher and publisher of Har Anand, which is a very prominent and a very well-known publishing house, and they have published over the years excellent books. And I believe all the previous books have been published of the Shri Sundar Kumar. You have published it. And I don't know whether you remember or no, many years ago, at the NSCS, we were publishing Kargil Review Committee. And you also came around that time. Of course, finally Sage published it, but we had some discussion on publishing the Kargil Review Committee. So thank you very much for being with us here. And in the audience, we have very distinguished guests, dear friends. All of you have known Shri Surendra Kumar and also worked in top positions in the government. And many of you have been my mentor. So thank you very much for coming, and Ambassador Gotra particularly. Thank you very much, sir. And I really feel encouraged when you come for our Vimarsh series of talks. I think I don't have to introduce Ambassador Surendra Kumar, but still I'll embarrass him by adding a couple of sentences, if you permit me, because it's your function and I must introduce the author. He's been ambassador to Libya, Mozambique, Democratic Republic of Congo, Eritrea, High Commissioner of India to Kenya, Swaziland, Malta, etc. I think our youngsters there probably don't know you, so good for their. And you were also India's represented India at the UNEP, UN Habitat, and have been closely associated with the participation of Indian contingent in UN peacekeeping mission in Mozambique and Eritrea and DRC. And you were also the Dean of Foreign Service Institute in 2006. You have written several books, including novels, poems, and books on themes ranging from Indian cinema to diplomacy, politics, culture. And this book is really a collection of those articles you have written on in the last few years. I glanced through the book, and it's a wonderful book. I think it covers a wide range of contemporary issues of national and social importance. And as the articles, I won't say much about what is written in that because you would read it. But as the articles show, the author has a powerful pen, a keen eye, analytical mind, candor, boldness, and a sense of humor. So there are a couple of articles in this which are written as satires, and I particularly like the second one, not the first one. The second one was really very well done. No, the other one. Yes, Sapna Toot Gaya. But essentially, the book is showing a mirror to the society. I think that is the main accomplishment. You raise difficult and uncomfortable questions that trouble an ordinary citizen. You don't have to really provide the answers, but you raise those uncomfortable questions. And as you note in the preface, and I quote, as a mature nation, we should not avoid or evade these issues. So that's, I think, the defining character of this particular book. Whether readers agree or disagree with the author is immaterial. What is important is that the book should trigger an honest and open-minded reflection and debate about ourselves. So now I would request the author himself to come and introduce the book. And you've told me to tell you about 12 minutes after the.
Thank you, my friend Arvind, for organizing this function. Let me also welcome Professor Nalapat, my publisher. And I'm so delighted that among the audience, I have my guru, mentor, Skota Saab, old London days, Padma Saab. We were there in 87. You can imagine how time passed. So many other senior persons are there. Let me tell you the title of the book is slightly misnomer. People get different ideas. This is not a one-theme book. This collection of 34 articles. And this title article is second article book. There are so many different subjects really covered in this book. There are about 6 or 7 articles which really focus on issue of caste discrimination, prejudices, reservation, Ambedkar, things like that. But then you have other issues which are of larger public interest. I don't know whether many of you are here who really send their children to university or college admissions. And you have this whole menace of cut-off marks. The parents are pressurized, The boys, girls are pressurized whether they will get admission, not get admission. You have 95% mark, 98% mark, 100% mark. It's still no solution. Now, I am sure that you all know what MS Rasgotra has achieved or see Padma Viyaji achieved. But I'm sure they didn't get 98% marks or 100% marks. It didn't matter. So this whole craze of having 98% mark, 97. So I have written this article about the utter stupidity of cut-off marks. You go to USA, go to London, nowhere you don't have the system at all. And they are doing so well. I mean, USA, all the innovations coming from there, the education system after Harvard, MIT, or whatever. I mean, you have got largest number of Nobel Prize winners, but they don't have 100% mark that we have here. But the thing is, we don't address the malaise. Malaise is you have not expanded the education facility. So people are trying to go to same colleges. St. Stephen principal told 2 years back, if I have 15 vacancies and 1,500 boys, girls apply, I can reject all 100% mark fellows because I just don't have place. I don't have place, then how can I really do it here? Aye, Ganju Saab, please. So this is kind of practical side of this. Similarly, we all watch television in the evening, prime time, super prime time, all kind of thing we see. And we have seen some press and media television London. You can have the entire interview without really anybody raising voice. Here, everybody shouting, you yes or no. Nation wants to know, the country wants to know, and all the breaking news can be once a week, once a day. Here, breaking news every half an hour. They're breaking news. I've been to your news ex once with some India-US relations. We were discussing. Suddenly say, sorry, we have to cut you. We have something happened, some cow lynching somewhere, so we have to take you off. So this is the kind of thing which is and kind of enormous. I think it is a he would correct me. It must be lucrative business, otherwise we will not have so many people having say in television sector. We have, I don't know, 400 channels now, but there are also channels which are really, if you see the entire spectrum, highly polarized. There are channel I went, one of the channel used to have the Sarhad Ke Aar Paar, the Hindi program, which come India, Pakistan every Saturday. This is very popular. And the anchor told before, sir, Pakistan jam ke lagai. I said, what is jam ke lagai? Before asking, she is telling me advance, unko jam ke lagai. I said, you have invited me to share my views as jam ke lagai. So we have this system where media, which is fourth estate, is powerful medium, and sometimes is misleading, not only giving information, giving that tainted view or giving that, what should I say, uh, very polarized view, not really offering objective, neutral, analytical view. Now, maybe many reasons for that, control of the ownership, and outside India also they have a control. BBC has been having funding from the government. Still, they have maintained their impartiality. They have maintained the integrity. We have not really have any tradition of this. I will read out some passage. There are also, for example, issue of gold medal. Now, when Sobha Days made some remark that we got two or three, let's say, medal, which is also two silver medal. What is the big deal after 1.3 billion people, or people bouncing on her, you are not a national, you are not. But thing, what we raise issue is certainly we should be happy that things are improved. But at the same time, we are miles behind the what is the population of UK? How many medals they get? 20 out of 50, 60, they medal two total. Our total come to about maybe 10, less than 10, all bronze and silver, all medal. So there has to be issues which should be raised rather than anybody asking questions should not be termed that as if he is doing something with anti-national. Something contrarian view doesn't have to be against the government, doesn't have to be against the leaders of the day, because content view could be something which might be giving you another perspective. And I think the rulers or the administrator of the day must take note of that, because sometimes you might have missed some point which content view really gives you. But you dismiss it the moment you say something called, no good. You are pro Pakistani, you are pro this, pro that. I mean, that's really not done. There are issues I have raised, like this issue, some of the articles, Panoya sir have read it. I have raised the issue, we are recruiting civil servants and how much irresistible craze of civil service. But all the press lampoons as babus. We are babu dumb, babus. So I have written irresistible lure of Babudam. Now, I have with him done mocks, maybe 1,000. Later, I've done more, 5,000, maybe 1,500 now. You surprised to know, initially about 400, 4,65, 4,60,000 boys, girls will start appearing. After all this, eventually you are recruiting 1,100 odd people. That means from 4 lakh, let's say round figure of 4,44,000, you get 1,100. That means out 1,000, one person comes. And all these persons, when they come, resigning from Tata Consulting Service, resigning from Wipro, Infosys, Cisco. Last year, I had in 27-year-old young man, merchant navy, drawing self 3,60,000 rupees. I say, even if you are selected and remain IAS for 40 years, by the time you retire, you won't have the salary. So, no, sir. I want to serve the nation. You want to serve the society. You want to do this, that. They kind of use it's beyond explanation because people thought once you have multinational companies coming, banks opening, private sector, they know this craze has not stopped, really increased. And I have said, look, what is merit? Our whole system of equating marks with merit is wrong. Because merit is something much more than marks. A person can, suppose A gets 100% mark, then B, both are selected. What is guarantee the person who got 100%, 100 mark more can be better IAS officer, better police officer, better diplomat? No, it is not. I will give an example. In my own batch, we have even service. One person, first class, first gold medalist, topper from Banaras Hindu University. He's so good in mathematics. His book is prescribed in the MSc course in BHU. He spent 38 years in our foreign service. Very few people will know his name. He retired as what High Commissioner to Jamaica. You can imagine what he would have done. Another person who was topper, first class, first gold medalist from Chandigarh University. During his career, 4 times he had to call back from his postings. You can see what kind of diplomat he might have been. We have numerous cases because the persons who have got mark has none more less than how you we sort of grow as an officer is totally different thing. Academic is academic excellence, okay, up to a point, but not later. So I have written that look, if marks were the criteria, Mahatma Gandhi will not get admission anywhere. All were prime ministers except Dr. Manmohan Singh. None of prime minister would get admission IIT, IIM, any university. No, because your marks are not really good enough to get there. But then they have reached where they have reached. Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, even founder of Facebook, these people are billions people using. They all university drop out. They don't have any kind of credential that they were released. So, but creativity is totally different. It does not necessarily, it has to be related to your marks in university. Marks are good, but marks are not the two. So I read out some passages. Some may agree, some may not agree. The first article is about Prime Minister. Now I don't belong to any party, but I have been observing, writing about him, about his foreign policy. And this is one paragraph which aptly sums up Modi's personal charisma and his ability to capture the imagination and dreams of people remains unmatched. In spite of scathing criticism by his opponents and whatever negativity they might spread against him, people are still willing to pin their hopes on him, praying that he will transform their lives for the better. Seldom in the history of independent India have so many people reposed so many hopes on a single individual. It is a scary responsibility. Modi can't let down 1.3 billion people of this country. He can't afford to fail or falter. He must deliver on his mesmerizing promises, or future generations will not forgive him. Now, I must also read a paragraph because the book title says this was provoked by Dr. Sachi Tharoor's speech in Oxford Union speech. Brilliant speech. So many people applauded it. He got more than 1.5 million likes in 24 hours. Prime Minister Modi applauded him. I am not sure whether Congress president applauded or not, but he deserved applause for right thing. Now, I agreed with him. The British colonizers fleece our country. They caused famine in West Bengal. You have Jallianwala Bagh. Your trade from 25% came down to 1.5%. All kind of wrong they did. And he said British must own their wrong. They should say sorry, apologize. and that sorry apology will be atonement of what they have done. That led me to think that if British have to apologize, rightly so, is Johan, what about us? Do we have courage to introspect, ask ourselves what we have been doing to our own people? British came from abroad, they're colonizers, but you did things to yourself without anybody really asking for it. Now, here is a long passage which I'm reading, which might not find many of you, but at least let me read. Charity begins at home. If the British should own all the wrongs they committed during their 200-year-long rule and say sorry and seek atonement, what about the inhuman indignities, injustices, and cruelties inflicted on the low caste by the higher caste of Hindu society for 2000 years? Shouldn't they own up social, economic, political, physical, and psychological deprivation they deliberately and systematically caused to them? In fact, the wrongs committed by them were far graver and sinister. The British did what they did as the colonizers to their colonized subjects. Their wrongs were similar or a shade lighter than wrongs of other colonizers like the Portuguese and the Spanish. The white Americans treated the blacks unfairly, unjustly, and cruelly, but most of them were brought from Africa. The high caste of Hindu society, on the other hand, treated their own brethren, their own countrymen so inhumanly for so long for no fault of theirs. Over the years, they created numerous political, social, religious victims to perpetuate the slavery and subjugation of the low caste forever, to tell a whole section of society for centuries that they had no right to property, no right to education. Their sole purpose in life was to serve the higher caste without protest, was to shut doors on any possible redemption. Even at the peak of their hold in India, did the British colonial rulers of India tell the low caste Sudras that molten lead would be poured into their ears if they ever tried to listen to anything akin to knowledge, aka Manusmriti? Did they ever order that when the low caste Indians walked through streets, they must use bamboo sticks with tiny bells attached to them to ward off higher castes with their sound to avoid their shadow that might pollute them, as was the strict law during the otherwise enlightened Gupta period? So, who should say sorry for the injustice done to the low caste in India in the last 2000 years? Shouldn't someone own the wrong? Shouldn't it be 10 times louder sorry than what Sachi Tharoor has been demanding of the British at the Oxford University? Realistically, none will own nor say sorry for what has happened in India for 2000 years. But couldn't the parliament, which represents the whole country, pass a resolution offering an unconditional apology for all the injustices perpetrated on the low caste? That will at least be symbolic atonement. Alas, 70 years after independence, no MP has shown the courage to suggest such a simple but healing gesture. Okay, आइए Sonal ji has come right time.
So we welcome Dr. Sonal Mansingh. We've just started. You just given some glimpses into. So now, may I request Professor Nalapat to kindly make a remarks here.
Thank you, Arvind, and thank you very much for inviting me here. I am grateful to Ambassador Surendra Kumar for having invited me here, and I am really delighted to be in the presence of Mr. Raskotra, an institution, frankly, a foreign policy pillar of our country, and of course, Sonal Mansingh, who has triumphed over such incredible odds incredible adversity, and she has always come back from that and come back even more of a winner than she was when this adversity hit her. So I'm really delighted here. And of course, my old friend Narendra Kumar, who has published a huge amount of books, and many of these books are really, really, if I may say so, very great contributions to intellectual thought in the country. I'm very delighted to be here. I'm particularly delighted because this is Ambassador Surendra Kumar's book. And the reason for that is very, very simple. The reason for that is Ambassador Surendra Kumar has the attitude, frankly, of the traditional Englishman of long ago. And what explains the success of this tiny little portion of a tiny little island that took over such a large part of the world? A certain self confidence, a certain feeling of independence, and a really clear feeling that, look, no one's above me except myself. No one's above me. I basically control my own life. So that is what the average Englishman thought. And if I may say so, he forced or she forced the English monarchs to basically reign and not rule. With the result, the average Englishman had a huge amount of personal freedom. They had a huge amount of freedom in their activities, in setting up their companies, in going on their expeditions, in their personal life, and the result was an empire. You compare that, let's say, with the Spanish, or you compare that with civilizations where there's much more centralized control. And the success of the British was basically their individualism and their self confidence. And these are two characteristics, I think, that no one who has known Ambassador Kumar will say that he lacks in the slightest. So that's why I said I'm really delighted to be here. Well, I can tell you that don't let me start moving on a lot of things that your ministry and various other ministries have not echoed. I can take up a large part of time. I can tell you of that. I hope Arvind may not forgive me. No, I simply want to say a very simple point, and that is that I do believe that there is a lot of resonance in Ambassador Kumar's point about 2 millennia of injustices and basically acknowledging it, because I've always believed, and we try and think that we are at least rational people, or we think rationally. This whole concept of merit from birth is an absurd concept, for the simple reason that it's not from your DNA. It also, apart from the fact that in India the DNA is actually the same for all of us, it also comes from your nurture, from your education, from the opportunities, from your parenting, and so many other factors. So this entire insanity that you judge individuals by the accident of birth. I mean, we have seen quite a lot of debate on that in Indian politics, about the accident of birth. But it's not just in politics; it's in so many aspects of our lives in which we pay so much attention to this accident of birth. I think that's absolutely absurd, and that has led, in my view, and I think the view of millions of people, I'd like to say, to gross injustices. I simply want to say something which, I don't know if it's politically correct or incorrect or not. I do not believe in reservation except for the Dalit community. For the simple reason, I don't believe there was discrimination against a particular community when the Mughals were in power. I don't believe there was discrimination against a particular community when the British were in power. At least if they did discriminate against a particular community, I'm not aware of it. The history books are not aware of it. And I'm certainly not aware of organized discrimination against a particular community when the Mughals were in power. So, in my view, the only community that really, in a sense, merits this kind of affirmative action is the Dalit community. And I'm strongly in favor of continuing the system much more, and, in fact, ensuring that this community gets its fair share of justice, which is still a long way off. I mean, I've said this on television, I've said this in my writing. I wish Mahatma Gandhi had chosen Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar as the first Prime Minister of India. Mahatma Ji talked about poverty, he talked about the poor, Now, the Prime Minister who was chosen was not from a poor family. The Prime Minister was chosen was not from an underprivileged background, not at all. I mean, maybe he seemed poor or underprivileged to the Mahatma, but I am not sure about anybody else. But Dr. Ambedkar was, and he faced multiple challenges and came to the top. And I've read his writings, and I can tell you they're very logical, they're very consistent, and they frankly had a view of India which was not romantic. And I think our problem in India has been we confuse romance with reality far too often. I'd like to say very clearly, Ambassador Kumar is not in that group. I mean, I don't want to give my view on some of his suggestions for improving the revenue of the country. I mean, but possibly it's got even more than GST, if you ask me. The KST, that may do so. But I simply want to say I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be part of this function. I congratulate Arvind for organizing it in the VI, and I congratulate Narendra Kumar here. And above all, I want to pay my deep respects to Dr. Mansingh, to Mr. Rasgotra, and so many other friends here who have done so much to make us proud of being Indian. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm really delighted that the chief guest could make it for that moment for which we were waiting for, that is releasing the book and then making her remarks. Please.
I love this story.
And I would like to say a few words.
Yeah, if you say so, I will. Thank you, Surendraji, for inviting me. And it's really nice to be in such august company. Nice to see you, Krishna Rasgotra, after many, many years, and so many other friends. Surendraji, he was ambassador, he was high commissioner in Kenya when I really got to know him. And he invited me twice. And then when he retired and came back to India, we kept our association, which has turned into friendship. I do admire him for many things, and I totally endorse whatever Professor Nalapat has said about him. I totally endorse. You can be quite overwhelming at times. Whatever is in the book, and it has been, as you said, Monu, discussed and is being discussed at length, I want to present my point of view. And of course, I know that many of the males gender who are sitting here, they'll say, "Acha, Sonal to aise hi bolti hai." Lekin main bolungi. I think the Dalit among Dalit is the woman. And for millennia, not only two, but many more millennia, women have been at the receiving end. Be it a family feud, be it the problem of settling property, land dispute, anything, woman is the first victim. In warfare, of course, soldiers die, citizens die. What does the woman do? I want to share with you this, that I had this grim images. You must have seen so many movies with Sophia Loren, or the war movies. Even now in Syria and Afghanistan and so many parts of the world, I wonder how the woman keeps the family together among ruins and shambles of their cities, their towns, their homes, managing to find a little something for the children to eat. How do they feed? How do they wash themselves? How do they keep their soul, body and soul intact? it's really something that bothers me a lot. Apart from this, as I said, on the one hand, we have this great respect and Navaratri and all these sutras, Yatra Naryastu Pujyante Ramante Tatra Devata, etc. And the entire arch ends at another point where Nari Narakki Khan, Nari Narakka Dwar, and a woman can be treated the way you wish. And we are witness to so many horrific incidents now. And it's not only now, let me assure you, but now with the social media, the dark web, and all such sites which should have been long ago taken away, taken off. I think Surendra Kumarji, another book is due from you about, no, really, I mean it, and I'm not saying it in a joking way at all. I think it's, when we talk like this, then it's immediate, oh, feminist, label laga diya, chipka diya. Very rarely there is serious discussion, and if it is about women, then there are women, there may be 3-4 men. Men never attend conferences and meetings where women's issues are discussed. So I think we really need to go in that direction. I've just come from another event, and that was for women. There were 4 or 5 men. One was Algerian ambassador. I'm glad somebody calls him, an ambassador of, I think, Azerbaijan and something. There was about 3-4 men. I'm saying that if 33% is still hanging in limbo, what are we talking about? Who's the Dalit? There's all this talk about, I'm sorry, reservation. What about this? Nobody is taking it seriously. And it's the male members of the parliament, 90%, who are blocking it. So when are we going to discuss that? With these words, I congratulate Surendra Kumarji and Arvind Guptaji. Thank you very much.
Thank you for raising that very important issue. In fact, today in international relations and international theory, there's a whole school of feminist thinking where they are asking that where are we in this whole geopolitics? All these wars, etc., started by somebody else, and these are the people who are suffering. So I think this is a growing trend, and there need to be a debate. And now that you're in Parliament, I hope you will raise some of these issues. Yeah. Okay, so now we have some time, maybe another 10 minutes or so, for some interaction with the author. So yeah, please, Basuki. Yeah. Mic go, yeah.
Thank you very much, Arvind. I'm delighted to see Sonalji here because, like her, I'm a strong feminist. I've known her for many years. And of course, Surendra Bhai is a dear friend. I wanted to make 2 comments. First of all, I would like to endorse a suggestion made that when you write your next book, you focus on the millennia of injustices which have been perpetrated on women globally, not just in India.
I think
Globally.
Arvind should take this project because
And,
Vivekananda Interest Foundation has all the resources and research they can do.
No, I think you should do it. But
my
to come
next
back
book
to your
is
book,
my next book is Unforgettable Divas of Bollywood. It will
Oh my
come in
God.
January next year.
So the next book. Then. But to come back to the points which I haven't yet read your book, but I heard carefully what you said. In South Africa, after the end of apartheid, where of course you are right, it was the gravest injustices perpetrated by white upon blacks, but they were all part of the same nation, although it was a colonial system. They brought about a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. I think the mistake maybe we made after 47, maybe because there was no such tradition at that time, was if you had through Parliament a Truth and Reconciliation Commission where historical injustices could have been discussed, debated, and then naturally there would be a process of atonement that would have been so much healthier for our society. For I do agree with you, Surendra Bhai, that after so many years down the road, we still have not been able to achieve what we did through our constitution. So I'd like to congratulate you on it. And I would like to strongly suggest that rather than going in the direction of the satire that you spoke of, which many feminists actually might object to, and I'm glad that Sonalji was not there when you referred to it, but I would invite her to read the chapter. So I would say that this is an excellent idea, that maybe when you get the time after the divas, you could perhaps also think about this. Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else?
May I just make a. I think this label of feminist again bothers me. I think we should come out of it and just say humanist.
Yes, please.
So just passing through, I saw this. I come to here to meet someone. I saw the
Accidental.
I saw the subject, and since I have some experience of dealing with the subject, so I came in. So the whole Constituent Assembly debates, which debated affirmative action action provisions, actually virtually said sorry, and that's why those provisions were incorporated. A good section of people were not ready, not for incorporating such provisions, but it was thoroughly debated, and collectively the Constituent Assembly debates reflect that we did say sorry, and that is why we incorporated. That being the first institution. The second institution being that when there was reservation only for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, so the quantum of reservation was sought to be fixed. Dr. Ambedkar, in one of his speeches in the Constituent Assembly, maybe 15th November 1949 or 50, actually said 30% is sufficient. But another of our institutions, the Supreme Court, said no. Looking at the past injustices and to create a better future, let's go beyond to 50%. They even kept aside Dr. Ambedkar's speech and went up to 50%. Of course, there are certain problems. Not all problems can go in a day, but then the problem has been resolved, and there is an intent to resolve, and a lot of things have been done.
Okay.
Just one last thing came from Justice K.G. Balakrishnan, our first Chief Justice from those segments, when he records in one of his judgments, that being Ashok Kumar Thakur, that today the situation is such that any category person or any person of any caste can be serving in the house of a different category person. So those strict boundaries have started breaking in, and we have already broken through.
Okay. Good luck for all your optimism. According to the National Registration Bureau of Crime Registration, 2017, 47,840 registered cases of atrocities against these communities. Now, if you have lived in village, I was born in village, I lived there, I still go there every 3 months. If 4 crimes are committed in rural India, only 1 get registered. If registered number is 47,000, the actual number of incidents would have been 4 times that. Now, in 70 years after independence, if so many 100,000 things happen, there's something wrong somewhere. Just abolishing untouchability on paper is no mean. There are more than 3,700 villages in India where it's practiced day and night. If anybody objects, come with me to Haryana, 67 kilometers away. I can take you to multi-caste village and you can see yourself. How come every year in Haryana, if Dalit bridegroom wants to ride a horse, he has to seek protection from police or go to High Court? Why? After so many years. So what you say progress is made, I am not sure whether it's being made. Now, not debate here, please. You have your views, read the book. You have not read anything. You once read it, then you understand what I'm talking about. You accidentally entered here, so you have very, very vague idea what I'm talking about. Please see that these things, why are they happening? If untouchability abolish is being practiced, why it's practicing? Because those who are supposed to control it, to stop it, they have no interest doing it. Otherwise, not. Bonded labor, we have 3.5 million bonded labor. We feel very bad if it is called slave. In fact, if you go and see the condition of these children, whether they are Bhadoi carpet, whether they are Brickle in Haryana, any other places, you have so many things which take, for example, different thing, Punjab, your female feticide, 2.3 million. What we are talking about? We want to project our ways of being, we talk about Nari Shakti, but 3.5 million female children are not allowed to be born just because they are female. And this is coming from still very rich, very educated people. You just see the matrimonial column in Hindustan Times. 95% of educated people drawing salary in 5 figures, tall, white Brahmin, tall, white guys, tall Tiwari. What are you talking about? 100 people should be very honest. First thing is, any debate on this, you have to be honest. Now, Chief Justice of India, 3 years back, is referring to Dronachar and Eklavya. Dronachar is a historical figure, mythological figure, Mahabharata. I take it metaphor. Suppose Dronachar represents the knowledge society of that time. Eklavya represents that section society with no access to education. He want to learn. By stealth, he try to learn. And what the Guruji did? Achar is Achar, only princeling. He is not a common man. He asked for thumb. Chief Justice of India said, what Dronachar did was disgusting. This is not my word. Chief Justice of India said, what he had no business. When you are asking symbolically means what those sections who wanted to access to education, enabling factors, you nip in the bud all their aspirations. Now, that has been the kind of thing in India. People criticize politicians. All the social mobility, whatever you find in India after 1947, that has happened largely on account of much maligned politicians. The intelligentsia of this country, the academia in this country, the educated people in this country, they have opposed every new thing. Hindu code will oppose it. Some of the brightest brains of this country oppose it. You go to any university, I mean, some of the progressive measures which could benefit women, they're opposed by people who are very educated. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was brilliant student, gold medalist, unlike Nehru. He opposed this. Purushottam Das Tandon opposed. Acharya Kripalani opposed. So many people oppose little measure benefiting women only because they were really different kind. Even now today you find the much more accommodation and liberal view of the people who are not so educated. But educated people are really wanting a sense of insecurity. Some people will come up, they will grab whatever is your hold, and you want to delay it, if not stall it. This is going on. No, we have made a lot of progress. Otherwise, I'm sure nothing will be happening what is happening today. We should be hopeful. I am already written. You read the article about Prime Minister, I read out one paragraph there. I mean, there's a hope. People are hoping things will be better, and I wish that happens. Thank you.
I think we'll take one last comment and then we'll close. Yeah. If there is anyone. Yes, please.
I'm a former army man, but a feminist.
Okay.
And my thing is to Dr. Sonal Mansingh. I've had the pleasure of seeing you, ma'am, dance in Kandariya Mahadev. When the dance took place on Kandariya Mahadev, Professor Nalapat and Dr. Arvind Gupta. First, I'm going to take you for your word. I've been trying to push the army to have a seminar of increasing the number of women in the armed forces, because the armed forces can be an agent for change. Would Dr. Mansingh, Professor Nalapat, and Dr. Arvind Gupta, would you care to attend for that? My thing to Ambassador Surendra Kumar, that analogy of Dronacharya and Eklavya, if Dr. Arvind Gupta would know. Supposing, I'm just talking of it theoretically, there is a target practice going on by trained soldiers or policemen. If somebody sitting outside were to fire at the target, what would happen to him now, here in India, or in America, or in England, or in any society?
No idea, sir. Sorry, I don't know.
That is the thing, sir.
Okay, you'd like to?
No, I don't know.
All right. No, I think, okay, one youngster, last, very brief.
Thank you for your talk, sir. So I am Ankit. I'm a young professional at VIF. Sir, my question, I was studied in a university where we learned about that so many institutions in society, for example, marriage, they are very Brahminical in concept. For example, there is a presence of a Brahman Pandit who watches over the ceremony, and then so many practices which are Brahminical, which again reimposes the idea of injustice. But then there is argument of being liberal and then retaining your culture. So where do you see that balance, and what is your take on that? Thank you.
Look, I said in the beginning, this title takes a totally different tangent. 34 articles, only one article. We are all talking only this. Look, India has been living in different ages simultaneously. You will find people who are going the fastest train, people who start using block cart. Even you just go in the morning, 9 to 10, traffic time. Some people are going on bicycles, some are going scooters, some are motorcycles, some are three-wheelers, some are in cars, some are and car also different. You can have you have a Maruti Wagner, you can have a Desire, you can have this kind of country where you can imagine. You have one Indian businessman in India who has the costliest private residence in the world. $1.6 billion is a residence. And he's the richest person in Asia. The same country, you have people, more than I think 600 people, 600 million people, Professor Nalapat can correct me, who have to make do for their family in less than 30 or 35 rupees a day. You have this whole range. We are living simultaneously. Only thing is, in this whole process, are we going? Now, we do claim that so many people have been brought above the poverty line. I'm very glad. But thing is, what is there? Even if they, it's almost subsistence. Suppose not 35. They always kind of dispute with Niti Ayog will say 35 for the rural and 28 rupees for the. I mean, this is kind of what. Even if suppose you're 100 rupees, what can you buy in 100 rupees? The person who is earning 100 rupees, he has got wife, maybe two kids. If you go in market nowadays, all the vegetables are about 80, 100 rupees. What can he give? Barely, he's just eking out a living, surviving. It's not life. We feel that a time will come, maybe 10 years, 15 years, where all of people will be well fed. Even 20, 30 years back when China was not so advanced as today, if you had gone to their rural side, still little kids were all well fed because they had nurseries where kids will be put there and mother is working factory. We have not reason. They are, I mean, just you don't have to go anywhere. Just look around and daily on the streets and some of these kids on the roadside, what kind of life they are living. In Delhi, it's there are 3.7 million people live in slums. Now people may say this, okay, we have some richest person, but we have also the other side of the story. This is a story of India. Maybe we are saying that 2035, we will third large economy, 2050, we may be second large economy. That is too far. Let us really consider what happens next 5, 10 years. We can see a lifetime and then things will be improving. We have to be optimists and we hope that tomorrow will be better than today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we'll have to bring this to a close now because the time has now, we have crossed the limit. But will I request Sri Narendra ji to make his remarks and then.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are extremely grateful and honored to Ambassador Surendra Kumar for having given us an opportunity to publish his book. This is his fifth book with us, starting with 03, now 18, and hope he will continue to provide us with an opportunity to publish more of his books. Madam Nalapat is an unusual journalist who is also an academician. His incisive remarks have made the evening meaningful. To Ambassador Gupta for organizing this function, we are very much obliged to you. And to Sonal Mansingh, a Renaissance woman, who has brought glory in the field of dance and also is a role model for women anywhere in this country. For our information, there are also men who do feel very strongly about the issues. In a very small way, we also run a women's publishing house, a humanist publishing house, I will start calling it, where all the issues confronting women in this country are tackled. And to you, ladies and gentlemen, your presence has made all the difference to this function. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we disperse, I'd like to present a memento to our guests.